All right, guys, I've been bringing this up off and on now for probably the last couple of weeks because I believe it's becoming more and more apparent that, yes, there is trouble in paradise. The globalists are having a little bit of difficulty, and I don't believe that they know what to do about it because China is striking back against the globalists. And you're like, what? How? What are they doing? Censoring them? Social media, the big tech companies don't really care about that. They still get to enough people. No, what they're doing is they're using the power of lawmaking. Yes, that's right. What if the good old boys club, the team, let's call it Team Globalist, what if they're starting to see the fruition of their aspirations, starting to see the end game, and they're starting to say, wait a minute, where is my piece that I was promised? It's the nature of these rich people. It's the nature of these people that seek power to, well, shall we say, have their own agenda, have their own idea of how things are to be split up. I think China decided that it had its own idea after the United States built them up to being one of probably, it's debatable, and even if we can compete with them right now in the position that they're in. And I believe they know it. And I believe that the globalists, the rich people, the mega millionaires are trying to get China to do its part, what it's supposed to be doing. In other words, get involved in the IMF. I think China's saying, no, we have our own plans. In fact, I think that the globalists are putting the pressure on China. So China's striking back. Yes, that's right. They are striking back. And it's interesting, in all of the articles that I've read, they never brought up how the sanctions, there's a new law that China put out, they just signed it. They talk about how it affects the individuals, which it does, but there's more to it than that. It affects the globalists. It affects the social media. Jeff Bezos, especially Jeff Bezos, anybody that does government contracts with the United States. Interesting. Is this like the first volley in a war that we're in? And nobody decided to tell us that we were in this war. Now, they're calling this an anti-sanctions law, and there's a reason for that, because, listen, it's the best-kept secret in the world right now that the entire world is engaged in a corporatocracy. Yes, the UN is run by corporations. Look at Gavo. Look at, Bill Gates. Just his donations alone to the United Nations. And we're not talking Jeff Bezos and, the other ones. But here, the point of the matter is that if a country is going to go to war against the corporations, which is, remember, the United Nations is a corporatocracy, which means the United States as a member of the United Nations is a corporatocracy. And I believe that we all already can see that we are in a corporatocracy. But it's the best kept secret. They don't want everybody to know about it. So if you were to go to war against the corporations, against the globalists, you can't state, well, we're going to, remember, corporations, it's about the money. We're going to find corporations because they can't do it. But what they can do is this. They can say that they're doing sanctions. Remember, when it comes to government, it's all about misdirection. They're doing what they're wanting to do, but not for the reasons that they're telling you and I. So what we got here is, let me adjust this. Law passed by National People's Congress Standing Committee can apply to individuals for or their relatives and organizations. Remember, they're talking about more the individuals in this particular article and all of the articles that I've read. They're not really talking about the ramifications to the mega giants, the mega corporations, okay? Even though this really affects them. Giving a basis to respond to foreign sanctions. It could involve denial of visas, deportation, and here, now, we're getting to the important part. Freezing of assets, according to TAM. Remember, I want to remind you that in China, if you're going to be doing business with the Chinese, you're going to have to give half, I believe it's 51% controlling interest in that branch within China to a corporation based in China. In other words, a Chinese company, which are run by the Chinese government. So essentially, 51% of your business belongs to the Chinese. And there's also been rumblings, too, about how China's making sure that, well, when it comes to religion, the Catholic religion is an approved Chinese religion. In other words, it could be practiced. But did you know that they have to have Chinese on the board approving anything that comes out of Rome? Oh, anyway, just little stuff like that, because we all know about Rome, right? And even China made the statement, Rome's its own country. Of course we're going to supervise a country in our country. Yeah, well, people seem to want to forget that because they really don't want to talk about how Rome is its own country. The Vatican, in other words, the Vatican is what I'm trying to say. China's top legislative body has passed an anti-sanctions law providing legal backing for sweeping retaliation against any individuals, their families, and organizations responsible for imposing foreign sanctions against the country. Okay, here's the important part again right here. I mean, they're gonna crack down on individuals. They always do that anyways. But that's the important part. Organizations. The legislation was passed on Thursday at the closing session of the National People's Congress, NPC Standing Committee, and was effective the same day. So, in other words, it passed really, really quickly. Now, again, if you go past the bullshit, and again, it's not bullshit, they actually can do it. For instance, they could go ahead and deny visas to individuals. China's big about families. You know, with their social scoring system, you know that if your children have a very low social score, it actually affects the parents and brothers and sisters. The reason that they do that is they want families to help do their own policing, which, you know, makes sense. You guys notice America's trying the same thing? Can we talk about social justice warriors? Shall we talk about social justice responsibility? Shall we talk about climate? Well, you guys get the idea. So, yeah, visas can be denied, but that's not the important part. Individual property or assets could be frozen or seized. Now, that's individuals and corporate, because we're going to get to that. And institutions can be restricted from conducting transactions with individuals or organizations targeted, he said. Guys, I'm telling you, this is a shot off the bow to the globalists. In other words, well, America is really good at playing the carrot and the stick. You either do what we want, and we're going to give you all sorts of cool stuff, or you don't do what we want, and we're going to ostracize you. Can we talk about, well, anyways, they're good at the carrot and the stick. China's taking its own lead from us and doing the carrot and the stick. In other words, corporations, you play along with China, everything's fine and dandy. If you don't play along with China, well, we can seize all of your assets. State media said the move was intended to provide a legal basis for China to respond to sanctions. Again, that's part of the excuse. I want you to keep in mind, right now, with Biden in office, okay, there are no sanctions that are being put in place. This is the same with the EU. There aren't any sanctions being put in place without the globalist approval. They're going to have to lobby for it. Now, what China's mainly arguing about is the sanctions due to Hong Kong and Xinjiang. How do you say Xinjiang? In other words, the province that they're using a slave labor and human rights violation, okay? China doesn't like that, especially when it comes to Hong Kong. They really want Hong Kong. You know why? Hong Kong makes a lot of money, and they want that under the China umbrella. And it's all unification of China. I believe that's part of it also. But anyways, make a long story short, guys, this is a shot off the bow. And they're not telling anyone, but those that know that China's telling them, you know what? You can do what you want. Guys, I want to bring this up too. Think about this. This sanction came into place. Now, they're saying that they've been debating on it ever since Trump was in office, okay? They just now decided to do it because, again, of the actions about Hong Kong. But I want to remind you it was just several weeks ago that everybody started yelling about it, investigating Wuhan lab. Fauci, COVID-19. You're going to tell me, and you know the media is involved because the media is covering it. If the media is covering it, that means the globalists want to cover it because remember, 6 families own all of the media. This is a shot off the bow. I think the globalists did their shot by doing the media and Fauci and putting Fauci under the bus. And now this is China's response. Guys, I'm going to keep up to date on this. Again, a lot of you are going to be going, John, this is really far-fetched, da-da-da-da-da. But, you know, when I was talking about how the hospitals really weren't full, I had more people saying, you are insane. Well, When I started talking about, well, the big C, and I was talking about the actual mortality, people were like, oh, no, they're falling. I usually end up tending to be right. We'll keep an eye on this, guys. I'll let you know.